Good morning.
Morning, guys. We just finished up this project here behind us on the homestead and wanted to kind of just like tell the story of it, I guess.
Yeah, this is going to be kind of our first video transitioning into like the new laid back living. So we'll see how it goes. We're kind of excited about it. It's definitely going to be a bit more chill and kind of laid back, you know, so we're just going to kind of recap the projects, maybe answer some questions, and just kind of catch up.
Yeah, so I was kind of hoping to run the projects on the Lorden's channel, our main channel, and then people, if they ever have questions, you know, this video is shot a day or two after that. So if you have questions, go over and leave them on that video on our main channel, the Lorden's. There's a link down in the description below. And then, you know, in future, we can answer those questions on this video.
Yeah.
When we're kind of just like chatting about it, talking about it.
Yeah. Chatting, debriefing.
So this was a good project. Liz and I knew that fencing off and pasturing this area in between our driveway was like a pretty viable option. We did it last summer, right?
Yep.
Did we do it the first summer we were here? No, I don't think we did.
Because we didn't have sheep. We had that movable fence. You know,
Last summer.
Last summer, yeah. And that's
Yeah.
the first summer we did it.
Right.
Was to get the sheep in there, and they helped out like tremendously. We didn't get them in until later in the summer though, when everything was already full grown. So it was still pretty overgrown and like long in there. So our goal was to get this done early, which we did. But right now it's like the grass isn't quite long enough, so we're in kind of like a little bit of almost like a limbo period.
Yeah, so I mean, that's okay though, because the grass is gonna come in.
Yeah, it's only gonna grow.
But we knew that like this was a good spot. So coming into this spring, we knew that if we wanted to put up a permanent fence right here, that, you know, it's pretty feasible, right? Because we've seen that grass grows lush.
Grows thick.
It grows really thick here. And yeah, we pastured the chickens, we had the sheep there last year.
Yep.
So what was the first step? We basically just started scrounging up T-posts for this project. We had a few T-posts laying around. A lot of them were like just kind of bent and pulled out of the ground, stuff we had salvaged. And we were able to get, man, about 10 of those ones, 10 T-posts. Got us almost all the way around this little enclosure, this small hillside pasture here.
Yep.
And then we had to go buy a few more. I think I ended up, what did we buy, like
I think
six of them?
Six
So
more,
we bought
yeah.
6. We used only half of those on this project. So yeah, we're probably 15 T-posts into this. We bought some wire. But yeah, so we got the T-posts all pounded in, and that was when we realized we needed like some really big posts, because this wire we're putting up is gonna be tight.
Right.
You know? And that was when we realized we needed something big.
Yeah, and that's where we have got the big log pile over here. So we knew that we needed at least 3 big posts because, like you said, it's going to be tight. We're going to be pulling on this wire, which, you know, the T-posts are only so sturdy. You know, you can wiggle them back and forth super easily. So we wanted the wire to stay tight. So we dug the holes, augured the holes, I guess, for the big cedar posts. And that like went really well. It was really, really rocky right here. You guys can kind of see it's like almost part of our rock quarry.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit of a struggle to get the auger through that. But the one up on top on the other corner was really easy. It took like less than a minute, I think.
Not a single rock. That auger, yeah. If you have an area where there's no rocks, that thing goes right through it.
Yeah.
But if you get a spot where there's rocks or there's roots, I mean, it'll almost rip your arm just right off your body. It's terrible.
Yeah,
terrible.
sucks.
But yeah, we were able to auger in these holes, and really not too bad. We hit a few rocks, but we were able to make it through. And even these post guys has a really dogs. What are you doing?
I don't know.
Dogs are going crazy.
Hopefully you can't hear them too bad. Wherever we are, they are. You know, they obviously can't go play on their own.
Elsewhere, no, they have to play right by us.
Right by us.
Do you remember how we even got these cedar poles? So both of these uprights, guys, are cedar.
Yeah.
And I was sitting on the couch one day, and I opened Facebook, and we have like this little community in the town we live in. The local page, yeah. And someone had posted like, hey, a log truck was overloaded and it hit the overpass
like one
on
of the train
the
trestles.
road.
So we were just kind of trying to be helpful, clean up the road, grab that cedar pole, and we were able to turn it into something useful here.
Yeah, it was kind of mangled too when we got it, where it had hit the bridge, you know, while the log truck went under it. It like split the end of the log, so it was pretty nasty. And yeah, we got it all cleaned up, and we actually made it work pretty cool. That is the split just on the inside of this gate here. That's the split from where like the bridge just peeled it off. The force just split the log, so it actually worked out pretty good. And it's a decent sized log. I think it's about 8 inches at the bottom, on bottom of both of those holes.
Kind of cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, but it works for a great upright. And I think after that, you know, that was when we started stringing up the wires to do the fence. We put the poles in, remember, and then we started putting the clips on, and we only strung up 2 wires the first time.
I know, we weren't quite sure, you know, those wires were electrified, so we kind of figured these sheep are gonna just touch the wire and that'll be it. So we put them in there with the 2
and they were
wires.
Spaced far apart, the wires. They were probably like 2 feet apart.
And it was just the baby that got out right away, right? We have a little ram lamb. He's young. He's only a couple months old still. What did I say?
Ram lamb.
Ram lamb, yeah, he's a ram lamb.
Yeah, ram lamb.
He's a lamb that's a ram. He's only a couple months old, so he's pretty little. He got out immediately. So we kind of figured, okay, we need more wire, like this isn't gonna work. So I think we waited until the next morning, put up 2 more. So now we have 4 wires. You know, the first one, not electrified.
The very bottom one is not hot, yeah. And then that one's mostly what, like 6 inches off the ground the whole way around?
Yep, 6 inches.
And I think we're gonna change that looking after the fact.
Right.
Because I think we're gonna electrify the bottom wire. But yeah, as of right now and as of when we built it, the bottom is not hot.
And the reason we didn't do that is because it's pretty hilly. So there's quite a few spots that we were just afraid the bottom wire is going to be touching the ground, you know, making it so it doesn't have any electrical current going through it.
Yeah,
so
it's not so much the ground I was worried about. It's more just like the shrubbery. Like the shrubbery growing up right around it.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the other thing is if the bottom's hot, now Liz and I are gonna have to maintain that fence where if we leave the bottom not hot, the animal's gonna push up against that fence a little bit and eat the grass down there, and that's gonna clear you a path on either side of that fence just a little bit and really keep some of the stuff off of it. And that's actually a big deal with an electric fence, is keeping most of the things off the fence, because the electricity is gonna find its path of least resistance, you know? So it's not gonna travel the whole fence to go back to ground. It's gonna take the shortest ground that it can, and if there's a piece of grass that's wet touching the fence, it's gonna ground out. You know, so that's, we're on the fence about the bottom wire and stuff like that.
It's a little bit tricky. I know that a lot of people would probably immediately say, yeah, go ahead and do it. And we're definitely leaning more towards that, because seeing now, even with 4 wires, the sheep are still escaping.
Mostly just the baby.
The baby, yeah. And
he's just small.
He's small. He's only a couple months old. He's pretty little, but he's definitely going through somewhere. We're not quite sure yet, but I think since that bottom wire is not electrified, he's doesn't mind touching it and just going right through.
A lot of people say we should electrify the bottom wire for predators too. And we don't leave these animals in this pasture overnight. Maybe down the future, down the line in the future. We could, but we need to build them like a shelter and some sort of structure in there. So for right now, we transfer these animals back and forth pretty much every day. And that's why we feel we don't need that bottom electrified in the sense of predators. But that bottom one, that sits about 6 inches off the ground. And then the next one, I would say they're about 8 inches apart, 10 inches apart. And the top one runs probably, maybe almost touching 3.5 feet at its high points throughout the whole one. So our highest wire is about 3.5 feet off the ground anywhere in this pasture, I'd say. And what do you think? If we were to do it again, or when we do it again, I'd probably tighten those wires up some. I'd make them closer together. Yeah,
I would say so too. So that they don't even have the option to slip through them. You know, electrified or not. Definitely make them closer. Maybe even add another one, like since they are closer together, 1 or 2 more.
I would add probably 2 more, almost.
Going up. But
we'll have to see in the future. We have plans to pasture off other areas, but for this one, we did 4 wires. The Charger has no problems like really juicing this fence up. I don't even know how much wire that is. You know, 4 strands, full wrap. It's a lot of wire, but the sheep, we've seen them touch the fence. They bounce right off of it when they do. So it does work, but having them about 10 inches apart, it gives them just a bit too much space, I feel like.
When they're little, at least.
When they're little, and
Yeah.
even when they're bigger, yeah, we'll just have to see, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll see. And then, yeah, so at that point, we had all the wires up.
All the wires are up.
Yep, all the wires are up. The gates still were not hung, guys, and we still had not set this big top piece across this big gate opening.
Yep.
But the wires were tight.
Yep. So it was
Let's
after we
see.
tightened the wires is when we realized that the wires were kind of starting to pull on these cedar poles.
The angles.
So then we decided, okay, now we need to put these angle pieces on there to push those back up straight. So we picked a couple more logs out from the log pile, and yeah, set those up there.
our
The cats
friend up
love
there.
it.
Yeah.
Immediately they climbed up there. But the angle pieces were next. You know, as soon as we tightened that wire, we could see that it was starting to pull those cedar posts. Even though I tamped them in the ground tight, you know, we didn't cement them or anything like that.
No, they're deep. Yeah.
So of course they're still going to move a little bit.
Yeah, that's a lot of tension. Like we used ratcheting tensioners, just like standard electrical fence tensioners, essentially. And yeah, you can get that fence tight, and yeah, of course it's going to pull that pole some.
Yeah.
So those big kickers, that really supported that whole
Definitely.
thing. We were actually able to push the post back with them just from the weight of the log. I thought we were going to have to
Yeah.
use the excavator maybe to like lean the pole back up.
Right.
But the logs that we used for that brace was so heavy, once we leaned it up there and pushed into it a little, it kind of just pushed that pole down.
Yeah, and that's perfect. Once you secure that, you know, those upright cedar poles aren't going anywhere.
No, yeah, worked out good. Dug them into the ground just that little bit,
Yep.
and yeah, worked out really good.
Yeah.
And that's when we knew that the fence itself, the tension and everything was pretty secure, and we started to move our focus to like just the gate system. And after dealing with the tension on the poles from the fence, we thought, hey, we're going to be hanging these gates off of these poles. Let's run something across the top of this to kind of tie the poles together, so when we hang these gates off of these poles, they'd have less of a chance to
Yep.
kind of shift. And it's a really cool opportunity to put just
Something
this
big up
big, like,
Plus, yeah, it looks cool.
it looks really cool.
Not only is it like functional and stout and shouldn't go anywhere, it looks cool.
It looks really cool. So that actually worked out good. It was a little finicky getting it up there.
Yeah, so you were in the excavator and we had a strap around the log. You know, we picked the log out. You had notched them with the chainsaw. And then we wanted the strap so that the far side was a little bit
Weighted.
heavier. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was weighted. So the far side was weighted down, and then I had actually just like an old broken extension cord, and I was on the ground
For like a tagline.
for a tagline, and I was
Yeah.
the one actually like controlling the log. So it was a little bit sketchy. I feel like I always get a little bit sketched out in those situations where it's just like, I don't know.
It's not as bad as you think.
It's not as bad as you think, but like me and my brain, I tend to sometimes go to like worst case scenario, which isn't a very healthy thing to do when you're doing these situations, especially regularly.
This is a high intensity attraction.
Yeah, so the first little bit I was pretty nervous until I realized, okay, I think this is safer than I realized. We
Yeah.
got it up there, you know, in the
It
video.
was a little sketchy though. I mean,
Yeah.
at one point, just because like trying to get it all lined up while you were doing it and getting the
Yeah.
excavator right in the perfect spot, and you know, obviously this is all rough cut, so our cuts weren't absolutely perfect.
And in the videos, you guys saw that it was quick, but I think it took us probably close to like 20 minutes.
I'd say, yeah, 15, 20
Getting
minutes.
that up there, and I
we
can't
got it
show-
all the way up there the first time, and
Yeah.
then we actually set it all the way back down for some reason. I don't know why.
I think like one side was fitting, but the other side wasn't, or something.
But what we ended up being able to do was we barely got it set up there. And then in the video that you could go watch, or if you have already watched, thank you. If you haven't, at the end of this video, go check it out on the Lordens. You can see in that video, I climbed up that far ladder really quick.
Yep.
And it was a little
And just,
sketchy.
like, shimmied
Trying
out.
to like scooch the end over, and it worked. But yeah, it took us a while to get it up there. That's the thing about that produced video. Like sometimes it's so quick and all of a sudden it's done.
Seems like it's easy, but I can't, you know, have a 20-minute clip there for you guys. Nobody would watch it.
No.
Because it's exciting for us because we're doing it, but it's not very exciting to watch it.
It's 20 minutes of us just like fiddling with this
Yeah.
log,
Right.
and yeah.
So.
But it worked out good.
But it was
a little
cool.
sketchy. We got it up there. It's lag bolted in. We used some big like 6-inch lags on the kickers and on the top. We do actually need to order, I want to order like some long timberlock screws.
Okay,
Because I
yeah.
want to run a few more in there just for safety. But all in all, I think that's pretty stout, pretty secure. There's a few things that we could have done better, I think. You know, always looking back on it.
Yeah.
Always ways you can improve.
For sure.
One of them, which we saw in the comments, and we know this, and we need to quit slacking off basically, is we need to peel these logs. We get so excited going to put these posts in the ground and stuff like that, and like, it's just really easy for me to overlook and say like, well, it'll be fine.
I know.
We need to stop and peel these logs, especially the cedar.
Yeah, it's easy for, you're totally right, and it's easy for us to overlook it because, you know, we have yet to deal with these
Rotting logs
because we're only just now doing it. So I'm sure in 5 years or whatever, when these start
I'm
to
hoping
rot
10.
off,
I'm guessing 10.
the
I hope 10.
the cedar is like what you want to use for poles. They're super water resistant, so
Great tree.
yeah, they're not going to like rot as fast as pine or any other type of wood.
Right.
Pretty much. But yeah, the bark definitely holds that moisture, and you're totally right. We do just need to like slow down and be better about it.
Yeah, we need to take our time because it's going to behoove us in the long run.
Yeah.
Rather than like being all excited, hey, let's get this thing built, you know,
Yeah.
let's just take our time. So we got to do that.
Yeah.
So we could have improved there.
Yes.
I
agree with
think
that.
I think when we go to do it this next time, we ran these wires in one continuous wrap around the entire thing and put one tensioner on the wire all the way back here. And I don't know if I would do that again. I think I would go half that. I would only put one corner in between the tensioner and its main anchor.
Yep.
It seemed like as we were trying to tension it, the corners don't want to slide really well, you know, and pull. We did use the nice round insulators on every corner.
The porcelain ones.
The porcelain insulators, and so maybe what I would do is like, I think I would buy more of the tensioners and just put one
on each.
On every other corner, basically.
That's true, because one side ends up being really tight, and then the other side, it's so far away from that tensioner that it's like still kind of loose.
Not that tight.
And there's not a ton you can do about it. So
Taut,
I think,
but not tight.
right. So I agree with you. I think that a couple more,
Yeah.
one on each side, would make it really, really tight.
I would also, like we talked about earlier, space the wires closer together just a little bit.
And add more.
We have been trying to not cheap out, but electric, or I guess solar electric fence chargers are really expensive, guys. So there's a few options on Amazon, and we bought, you know, one of the more reputable ones, but it's a small one. And after learning about electric fences, it only puts out 0.1 joules. And that's really not that much, guys. That's like a really bad static electrical shock if you grab this thing. It really does not hurt you that bad. So we have learned that in this process, you need to have a way to charge this fence, and sometimes you're gonna have to bite the bullet. And some of these chargers, like that one that we have up there now, we spent $300 on that charger.
Yeah.
And that's over 3 joules, but that's what you need.
Right.
Something like that will almost knock a human to the ground. That's
Definitely an investment.
Oh man, yeah.
You know, and you have to, because with the,
You have to.
you know, with the smaller fence charger, the sheep can brush up against it and is not going to feel it. Like, unless it touches its nose directly, like, it doesn't bother them at all. So I think that's part of the reason we're seeing them get out, is they couldn't feel it through like their thick hair.
It's really not much. I grabbed it, and it's not much more than just like a really bad static shock.
Yeah.
The other fence, on the other hand, I touched that the other day on accident.
Yeah.
Oh man, what is this one? This is 1 joule. That hurt. That really hurt. I think that's dangerous, man. If you had like a bad heart, that just like, that zaps you.
Yeah.
So
Or if you do have a bad heart, maybe that's what
it knocks it back, into,
into
place. Maybe just go grab the electric fence really quick.
I don't know what they do.
Maybe that's what a defibrillator is. If we ever, need like an emergency defib, just grab the fence charger.
Yeah, see what happens. Right?
Man, I hope not.
Yeah, so we have a few different, you know, fences going on now, but this was like the main one that I'm really happy to have gotten done. I think, you know, right now it looks a little bit bare back there. That's because nothing has grown yet. It's still pretty cold up here in Idaho. But thick of summer, this is going to be really thick. And I just really look forward to the next couple of years when it's like nice, beautiful, lush grass.
Yeah, should be good. We are still fighting getting the sheep in and out of this thing.
Yeah.
We have had goats in the past. Years ago, Liz and I had 2 goats. Pretty miserable. They got out of the fence constantly.
Swore we would never get goats again. And so we're like, we had heard sheep, you know, sheep are like the much more docile.
Sheep are way easier.
Cousin. And they really are until
till they get out.
Till they get out.
And you try to get them back in, they don't want to go back in. So we need to secure a good system to move them across this way here, you know. So we got the main barn right here where we keep them penned up and pastured.
Yep.
And it's probably a 25-yard jaunt across the way here.
And they just like aren't super interested.
No, they just veer off. So we need to kind of have a decent way to like corral them, funnel them straight down.
And if you guys, if you have raised sheep in the past, let us know your tricks. You know, I think that there's a few things that could be the reason why they're not super interested in going over there. You know, the first one is the food. You know, I know I've said that. We at first use the grain, like the super
Actual
sweet, like
sheep
lamb
food.
grain, and they
Yeah.
love that.
There's like oats and corn,
Yeah.
and there's a bunch of stuff in it.
And then we just kind of cheaped out, ran out of that. We're like,
Well,
we
that
have.
stuff's expensive. That's
It
like
is
$45 a
expensive.
bag.
I know.
And like everything's getting so expensive.
So-
hey, what are you barking at?
We cheaped out, not really cheap. We ran out of that, so we're like, we're just going to use chicken food because they like that too.
The layer pellets.
The layer pellets.
They love it.
They love it.
Not
but
as much.
Not as much. So maybe that's one of the reasons.
Yeah.
You know, that they're like, they know what it is. And
Yeah, maybe we just gotta only use that grain for moving them.
Yeah.
You know, because you were feeding it to them just kind of as a little snack.
I know, I was kind of giving them a little bit too much, and they got really used to it. And then we kind of took it away because we're like, okay, you guys don't need this much. And
They went crazy.
they went crazy. Whoops.
Everything's working out pretty good though.
Yes.
Other than moving them.
Back and forth.
Our one lamb is about ready to lamb. We're getting excited for that. We got the pen ready to go. I think we'd probably just throw some more straw in there just as that time comes.
Yeah.
But all in all, pasture project completed.
Check it off the list.
Check it off the list. The gate's working good. We need a latch, a legit latch for the gate. That's it.
Yep.
We got just a strap, a little cinch strap around it right now, but yeah, check it off the list. It's good.
Off the list.
It
I know.
deserves it.
That was a good project, and I've said it before, but I'm happy to have it done early in the year.
If you guys want to see how we actually completed that project, please head over to our main channel, The Lordens, or check out the link down in the description below to watch the full video on how we completed this whole project. It's like a 25-minute video. Really good project, really interesting. You can see like all the actual little, you know, I guess steps we took to get this
To get this
completed,
whole fence
rather
up.
than just shoot and shop about it.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
totally.
hopefully you guys enjoyed this too.
Yeah, we will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.
Cheers.